everybody to the second annual Innovation Entrepreneurship and CS Pitch Competition, co-hosted by ACM. And so we have a few ACM board members here. So I would like to give a huge shout out to them, first and foremost, for arranging and doing all of the logistical stuff for this day. And I'd also like to thank our judges for coming and, I don't know, like providing excellent feedback for you all. This is a early Friday morning, so I really appreciate them taking their time. Professor Arnaud Poudre, chair of the CS department, so yay. Professor Samir Verma from Information Systems from Family College of Business. And Professor Duck Tao from Computer Science as well. Thank you. Anyways, we were delighted with the amount of submissions and the quality of the submissions this year. It was tough making a choice to narrow it down to the finalist pool to come and present today. But we're excited to see what y'all are bringing to the table, and we encourage everybody to continue on with your projects, with your business pitches, with your innovations, and submit your ideas to the Innovation Pitch Competition that's coming up in April. The deadline for submission is the end of March. You can find out more information about it by scanning any one of the QR codes that we have floating around the room. And please do take advantage of all the resources here in order to really flesh out your business ideas. We have free business consulting, legal consulting, and then technical consulting, and then a makerspace that you guys can also use to help build out prototypes and MVPs. So without further ado, I would like to call up our first competitor team, Align AI. Yes. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Jasmine. Jasmine, like me, is a senior computer science student at a university. She's had a typical college experience. She's made friends. She's pulled all-nighters. She's got lost on the Muni because she took the 18 instead of the 18R, and that skips things. She also has done all the projects and classes that you need to graduate from computer science. The one thing she does not have is an internship. And from our data, we know that if you've gotten an internship, 70% of the time you will land a job. Meaning, internships lead to full-time jobs in computer science. And we also know that the number of computer science undergraduates has tripled in the last 10 years and continues to grow year after year.
Jasmine's story is real. 2 days ago on Wednesday, I asked my software engineering class how many of them had an internship in their college career. A class of 40 graduating seniors, 0 of them had an internship. On Wednesday, we came face to face with the problem. Students do not prepare early enough to enter an ultra-competitive job market, leaving them with no experience when they don't have an internship under their belt as they enter this job market.
My name is Wesley. This is Natalie. We've created Align AI to help students with no industry experience stand out in an ultra-competitive field.
So how do we do this? Align AI analyzes recurring internship roles to see what skills do companies continuously keep looking for in their interns. We take this data along with the student's profile. So that means their interests, their skills, classes they've taken. Combined together, we generate personalized coding projects that, one, demonstrate that the student has the skills that the companies are looking for, and two, helps them stand out in the internship process. Along with the projects, the coding projects, we provide them with resume bullet points to make the application process even easier for them. So our target audience for the test trial is the CSC 215 and 220 groups. This is because they are at a point in their academic careers where they still have at least one internship cycle to prepare for, giving them enough time to complete a coding project from Align AI. And then based on the results we get from these two demographics, we want to refine the app and later expand to community colleges and other CSUs, and later expand again to all universities and adjacent markets. For example, people that want to do career switches into CS. Our revenue model, our pricing starts at $10 a month, and this allows you to regenerate your projects twice if you don't like the first one that we came up with. And then we also have a tier 0 for $20 a month for unlimited amount of project regenerations. So our long-term goal, what are we really trying to do here? We want to answer the question, how do I get an internship at company X? This question plagues the mind of every CS student. How do I get an internship at a particular company? Well, by tracking and collecting data on what projects actually land students internships, we can hopefully answer this question.
Currently, our app is actually under development. Our front end is in the UI UX phase of design, and our back end is establishing APIs so that we can connect the front end to the back end. Yeah, we are Align AI, and we want to help students, we want to help transform students to empower them into solid internship candidates.
Thank you very much, Align AI. Now we're shifting to the Q&A section. Judges, take it away.
So do you understand correctly that the AI creates some projects that students can work on and that will bolster their resume when they apply for?
Correct.
Because CS students, we all typically, no matter like what college we go to, have very, very similar projects. And not a lot of students like branch off, like think of projects on their own to do. And so we feel that giving them like the opportunity to have unique projects that will help them.
So how's that different from class projects that you do in your classes?
From class projects, well, if you have a class of 40 students, they're all going to have the same class project. That doesn't help you stand out in a very competitive market, right? So by taking these two things, the data, the skills from the internships that they're looking for, combined with your own personal interest and your own path, whatever classes you've taken, we combine those to give you personalized coding projects that, one, target the skills that the internships are looking for, and two, they help you stand out because they've been personalized to you.
So one suggestion that I make to students is to look for an open source project that you can participate in. And that not only shows the coding skill, but also some social skills, because you have to interact with other developers. And if you can point to GitHub heat map and you can show here are my commits, that also usually is pretty good. So if I had a suggestion, I would say maybe have your AI match your open source project to your candidates.
I know the idea and you presented very well. My quick question is do you vision students of other majors than computer science using your application and professor use this too, or just students?
Yeah, so obviously we would like to cater to not just CS students, But since me and Wesley and the team, we are CS students, we know how the internship process works, particularly in this field. We would need, outside domain experts to tell us how, for example, how do media studies internships go? We don't know that. So that's why, ideally, yeah, we would like to expand to all majors. That's for future reference. And for professors, yeah, if you want to create a curriculum that targets what's actually going on in the job market right now, you could definitely use our app to come up with project ideas that target the skills that the field is looking for, right?
Okay, couple of questions. So, maybe presentation. Let's start with the problem statement itself. So, the problem statement is short and good. It defines. But do you think that is a real problem why students don't get an internship, or is there a culture where they don't look for things? So the question is, are they looking for things but they can't find stuff, or are they not even looking for things? Where does the problem begin?
So that is why we, in particular, are persistent about targeting the CSC 215 and 220 students earlier on in their career. The problem is with the timeline. Students start preparing too late for internships, right? Because internships, you don't prepare for them overnight. It's a process. So.
Okay, so if they're starting early on, you give us a visual about your solution, which is great, because that helps people understand. Even those who are not in the field, they kind of get a sense of how the solution is. If you think about the timeline, so let's say you're a student in the fall semester and you're prepping for this. Now your Align AI, its data is coming from whatever the industry wants now. But by the time they come out of the pipeline to actually apply for the internship, we realize that neural networks are, no longer the rage. There's something new. So how do we solve that problem of that lag that happens with, I studied for all this stuff, and I built all this stuff, but now the market wants something else.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't explain it clearly enough. So what we do specifically is we take internships from the previous year and the current year.
Mm-hmm.
And we see, okay, what's the common skills in there? And we hope that, within a 1-year period, there's not going to be that much of a shift between those skills, right? So we're consistently looking at what are the skills this year and last year and seeing, all right, what's consistent between those two.
Okay. So continuing along those lines, in terms of our timeline, you had a slide that showed us the target audience and the phases.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, give your audience a sense of, is that 18 months, is that 6 months, so that you have a sense of how that progresses. And then the last, and then you also had a slide on your revenue model with you call it software as a service.
Yeah.
It's probably more appropriate to present it as a subscription service as opposed to, because software as a service, your Google Docs does software as a service, but this is more like I pay you a fee every month and it's a subscription, so.
It doesn't actually start as free.
Right, so it could, comes across better.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm very sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off, but thank you very much, Align AI. Great work. All right, we're now transitioning to this.
Fellow peers, judges, and organizers, we are Genom.ai, and we are the company for your metaverse needs. From one to Omni, Omni to infinity. Let me introduce you to our team. I am Wesley, and I'm the project manager.
I'm myself, Ravi, and I'm the solution analyst.
My name is Brian George, and I'm the software engineer. Unfortunately, our product designer could not make it here today, but he worked really hard on this project with us, and we love the one we have to offer. Now I'd like to give stage to the solution analysis and explain what Genom.ai is. Right?
Thank you, Wesley. So I'm sure you all have heard about metaverses from the company Meta. It's a virtual experience where users get to interact with other users on a virtual environment. Many people put a lot of time into their avatars, as we do to get ready for our daily lives. So the question is, can we transfer one character or avatar from one metaverse to another? So there are problems with creating an omniverse by merging multiple metaverses. Because barriers with metaverse companies have with current development of avatar transfer. Hard coding is a problem because it requires a lot of time and money. And considering the different parameters of avatars between metaverses and the loss of individuality between characters, makes it difficult to implement this. And this is where Genome.ai comes in. It enables seamless character transfers between multiple metaverses for metaverse companies, utilizing generative AI to integrate metadata to different metaverses. And as you can see on the screen, there's a lot of potential for the metaverse market. And 60% of investments that go towards metaverse research are from marketing and finance, education, and medical industries. And this is excluding video game industries as well. As for the market size, it's very large. It could potentially go up to 2.6 billion by 2030, with Genome AI being able to help 374 million users in the next 6 years. And I'd like to hand it off to Ryan George, who's going to talk about how all this works.
Thank you, Ryan. So, now for the million-dollar question. How does this work? So, our company basically acts as a bridge between different metaverses. And the users are required to put in their personal info just once, rather than putting their personal info and creating new avatars for each metaverse. They can just put in their personal info once and create a link between all the metaverses. So their personal info is encrypted and stored in blockchain, which is used by a generative AI to create their personalized avatars in their respective metaverses. The AI takes physical data like face and body features and previous avatar data and creates an imaginary avatar which is personalized to your metaverse, your target metaverse. So another key feature in this is how the personal data is stored. And the user is also given a private key, so only they can decrypt the data. And the encrypted data is stored in blockchains. And using cryptographic algorithms, it's stored in blockchains and it has smart contracts in place. And the smart contracts are immutable. So a security issue does not arise. Another feature is how the avatars can grow by different experiences in different metaverses. Users can customize their avatars at any point in time, either manually, or they can use their experiences in other metaverses and improve or make their avatar better in another metaverse. So the metadata collected from previous metaverses is used to improve your character each time you go from one world to another. And then to add on to this, we're not creating a new character every time you go into a new metaverse. We're transferring them, which means that you get to keep your achievements from one world to another, which would make your experience a bit better. Now I hand the mic to Fostek, who will explain more about the business model and market analysis.
Thank you, Ryan. So this is our business model. And who is our target audience? Our target audience are the companies in the metaverse. And FYI, we are not creating a metaverse or developing a metaverse. Instead, we are joining hands and working with companies in the metaverse to form a greater omniverse. And this is where Genome.ai comes in and provides services to 374 million current users in the metaverse. We plan on charging $50 per user to the companies, not the users. So if you're a user of the metaverse, you don't have to worry about it. It's the companies that we charge depending on how many users they have. And in the next 6 to 10 years, we aim to hit our expected revenue at $18.7 billion. So what are some competitive advantages for Genome.ai? We save development costs. Well, our generative AI takes care of the engineering costs and time for metaverse companies, and we are very secure. And with our blockchain encryption method, which has proven to be really powerful, we guarantee that your data will be decentralized, which means that it is very secure. And Genome.ai will not have anything to do with your data if your data is safe. And we're very affordable compared to other competitors in the market. And we ensure individuality in your avatars, as Ryan mentioned. And last but not least, we're the first in the market to unify the metaverse, omniverse. And looking at the graph, We believe that Genome.ai is ahead of our competitors when it comes to affordability and other companies who are using similar technology. For example, Ready Player Me, who use similar technology like Genome.ai, but this is where Genome.ai takes it a step further by using generative AI. So through our market adoption, we are planning to develop large language models, also known as LLM, which will help the AI and everything be capable of functioning, taking on tasks such as function calling, and we'll be able to offer API libraries to other companies such as Ready Player Me, and this will be a source of our secondary income. And in our long-term plan, we plan on using private or hybrid blockchain instead of public because it is way more secure that way, and this will avoid gas fees in transaction. So, Genome.ai is the avatar generation service for your metaverse needs. I'll see you in the metaverse.
Thank you very much. Judges, take it away.
So, if I look at smartphones, there are two ecosystems, Android and iPhone. And those companies make it as hard as possible to migrate between those two platforms. They want to lock in their customers. I only know of Meta's, Facebook's metaverse. I hear it's not doing too well. But would you have to rely on some API to make this? And what makes you think that the companies will actually allow you to do that? And wouldn't they also try to lock in their clients into their respective metaverse?
Thank you for the question. Companies are trying to do this, but other companies have not really done what we are trying to do right now. Other companies are offering API tools and software, but we are offering our service. And yes, there are companies who don't let they do their best to not let their data go from one company to another, like Android and Apple. But this is up to the company for the better user enhancement.
So you offer a service, but how do you technically actually then implement the service?
So the whole point is that so the companies take our services on a subscription base, and then we act as a bridge between their metaverse and another one. So technically, a company does not have to do it, but then if they do it, because thinking about the future, so we think that metaverse can be used in different applications, like academic, professional, so it may be play games, and it would make the user more. I think the users would more like it if they can take their experiences from one world to another.
Yeah, I don't doubt the motivation. I just wonder how you technically do it. You know, do you have an API to then pull out the metadata and inject it into different multiverse? I mean, I just wonder if you actually provide this.
The data that the user provide, we think that the generative AI could like put in the parameters for them to create new avatars using their personal experiences and like past avatar experience. So we think that using the dummy data at the beginning to like train the AI, and in time the AI will be trained to like know what to take for one thing. For maybe if I'm playing a game and then I got an achievement in that game, and then I have a class right after that, I go to that class, but then my shirt would still have the logo of that game, like getting the experience through, and the AI would be trained to take that and not like the whole armor. You know.
I have one more technical question. So you mentioned blockchain. Blockchain is a consensus model. But the way you described it, it sounded more like you're just looking for a way to secure the data. You just need encryption. But what is the purpose of this consensus model here in your product?
So blockchain is what allows like transferring the data and allowing information to go around. And this is what blockchain encryption works. And this is to keep the data safe. Our purpose is to keep the data safe to not let hacking happen. That's one of the main things.
When you interact with Amazon or any online shop, you don't have blockchain. You just have like a secure connection and then secure it on the back end. Again, blockchain, in my understanding, is a consensus model. You try to get consensus amongst a group of people. That's the main purpose of blockchain.
We'll take that into consideration. I appreciate the question.
Great.
A couple of questions. So, so the value proposition of the LLM that you have in the middle in terms of why that's such a big deal, I think is important. That wasn't very clear after you answered the question there. I kind of got a sense of that. In terms of, I think some of the things you presented are fine in terms of explaining the model, but my question goes back to what Professor Pura was asking as well, is that, so if Meta is providing you the data and then you're connecting to, say, Google or some other platform, what prevents them from saying, oh, we'll just do this directly and we'll cut you out?
Yeah, so my understanding, companies hate sharing data, and then in this case, we're not sharing data with anyone. We're actually creating something and then giving that to them.
Okay.
That secure data is with us, and we're not even able to access it because they're encrypted.
Yeah. So that's important because that's your value proposition, because if I am somebody, I'm your customer, then I need to understand that it's not just a pipeline that you're building. You're actually taking things from here, so even if there is no API, I can just go to that page and actually pull the details. Then your LLM actually generates something valuable, and then that value stays with me because of the private key, and is not owned by one of the third parties. So that proposition needs to come through clearly.
Thank you very much to Janet joining me up. All right, we would like to welcome the third team that is coming up here. Acro AI, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, let's do a round of applause.
So growing up, I watched my mom struggle with 12-hour days working in the peak of tax season. And I quickly realized that the problem wasn't really the sheer amount of work, but the inefficiencies in her workflow. So this brings me to a broader problem, which is that accounting industry as a whole is outdated. So from 50 plus firms that we talked to, we found that a lot of them wasted up to 10 hours a week on tasks that were repetitive and could be automated. And this also stems from their workflow, their softwares being unorganized and numerous, and they didn't mesh together very well. So as an example, a lot of them used a messy spreadsheet for tracking their employees and their clients. And so they would have to use a lot of different softwares, Gmail, Calendar, Google Drive for files, and Google Docs for notes, just to track their clients. So basically, a lot of them, on average, would work 10 hours a day with 3 of those hours spent on tasks that we could automate. So this is what a typical workflow looks like, and this is what my mom's workflow is. It's cluttered and it's a little bit tedious and messy, and nobody really wants to work with it. This is where we introduce Acro AI. So we bring everything into one AI-powered workspace. So this includes a powerful suite of AI tools, a centralized firm workflow, which includes task and time management. We have client and employee tracking, which includes a nicer dashboard view for clients and employees, and also tracking metrics. We also have an automated email management feature, which saves accountants hours every week. This is an example of one of our AI tools. So imagine you just got out of a client meeting and you want to edit the client data, email your employees an update, and create an associated task. Instead of having to use 3 different softwares and do that within minutes, all you need to do is send 3 texts to our AI assistant we call Atlas. And it'll create the task, it'll edit the client data, and it'll fetch client data for you, turning minutes into seconds. One of our other goals was also to create a lot of an environment for workspace collaboration. So we combine everything into one place so that employees know what they need to work on and when they need to work on it. We also have insights for employees, and we have Google Calendar and Outlook integration so that everybody's calendar is synced and you can see what other people are working on. We've redesigned client and employee profiles. So on the left, there's a default, employee view. And on the right is our redesigned dashboard for an employee. This not only comes with a refined user experience, but also it's updated automatically by Atlas. It has real-time activity and data updates, and it has accounting-focused attributes and instant import or export from Google Sheets or Excel. The last feature that we're really proud of is our AI email management system. So this, is, as an example, is sending an email to a client asking for a meeting. So all you have to do is provide it with a prompt, and it will not only draft the email for you, but it will create the associated event, put it on your Google Calendar, and it'll put it on your Google Calendar. Alternatively, it's also trained in accounting and tax compliance, so it can respond to client emails or inquiries asking about more complex things. So our target audience spans across almost 140,000 accounting firms across the U.S., which brings our total attainable market, attainable market up to billions of dollars. And this is assuming our pricing of $150 a month per workspace and $30 a month per additional employee. So we are a B2B software as a service company. So far, we've had pretty good traction. We've held a lot of meetings with accounting firms themselves, and we've taken notes and gotten a lot of feedback from every single one of them. We have 10 firms seeking partnership in the long term, which entails some sort of ambassador or receiving our product services for a discounted rate in exchange for giving us some feedback. And we have 45 firms registered for our beta launch, which we expect within the next 6 months. Our competitive advantage is that we're built from the ground up with AI in mind. And we're also tailored to small local accounting firms, which the bigger companies just don't care enough to service. So a lot of our competitors are either more generic, like Jira or Zoho, or more of a client relationship management service, like TaxDome and Canopy. Our main competitor, Carbon, is mainly geared towards much larger firms, and the last thing is that we're competitively priced. So, for example, Carbon charges $100 per new user, while we only charge $30. So our team, I'm working with my co-founder Lance, and we're both well-versed in computer science. So we're the main driving force behind developing this product. And then our advisor, Roy Lowry, created her own tax accounting firm, and so she gives us advice on the daily struggles of an accountant. So I really hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I hope you consider an investment in ACO AI.
Thank you. So, good value proposition. You kind of carved out the marketplace. I ensured the numbers you showed are the real partners and so on. But how is this different than Google? They have the tools. They can stitch together whatever you're providing. They also have an assistant. So where is the big value in going with you guys as opposed to just letting Google do this for you?
Yeah, so accounting firms have a really specific workflow, and I kind of learned this through working with my mom because she included me in doing my own tax returns or doing my own bookkeeping. So her workflow, she can't really use something like Google. What she does right now is using Excel, and then she's using a couple of marketing softwares. I think one of them is called Ignition.
Mm-hmm.
And so just from me seeing her workflow personally, Google is too generic for an accountant, and so a lot of our features are more geared towards accounting. And an example would be the client management system. So the way we have it is it can be applied to many different more generic companies, but a lot of our fields for clients are specifically for accountants. So for example, we have a field for services, and that's mainly what an accountant is offering, and we sort them by year, which is what an accountant does. And we have sorting by bookkeeping or financial services or part-time CFO, and we have those fields specifically tailored to accountants.
Okay, So that's your value proposition that you're very specific to the accounting
Right.
space, right? What happens to the customer's data? Where does that live?
Right now we have the backend stores everything in Firebase. So we use Firebase for authentication and Google login, and then so Firebase to answer the
Are
question.
you hosting it? Is somebody else hosting it? Because my point there is that in terms of a value proposition, since you're giving us something very specific to accounting, another thing you could add is that the data stays with you as a company and doesn't sort of go off to Google or wherever else, because that's the other part is that in the accounting space, the customer's data is very important.
In this case, it's stored on Google servers, and we did that. I made that choice for security reasons because I don't think I personally could beat the security of Google. So I wanted to store it on their servers. And in terms of security, we've done some work some work so far with encrypting the data in transition. But since we haven't released yet, it hasn't been we haven't finished developing the security aspect.
So my last question is about the AI piece of this. So you have an assistant. So that's your AI related thing. Is your AI doing anything with the customer's data?
So our value proposition if you compare it to like ChatGPT or something, is that we use the OpenAI function calls, and we also use prompt injections to give it client data. So yes, it does have access to some client data. We clear out fields that are sensitive, but like for example, it has the name, email address, or the big company name and things like that. So yeah, it's injected the client data, and it also has access to, because it's part of our workspace, it can create tasks in the workspace, create events, so it's linked, everything is linked with the assistant.
So you're transferring data, customer data to OpenAI through prompt engineering or prompt injection.
Yeah, so as of right now, we are using OpenAI. I've looked into different models like Google's model or Anthropic's model, but our end goal is really to create our own LLM. We don't want to be transferring data to Google or OpenAI or anybody else. But as of right now, because we don't have the resources to do that, we are kind of just stuck with using OpenAI's.
And that could be critical if customers
Yeah.
know that their data ends up in OpenAI's LLM. Then
Their models that are open to their API, they say that they don't save the prompts and they don't use it for training. And I know it's not the best solution, but we just don't have the resources to create our own model.
Thank you very much, Echo AI. Next up on the teams is Qualifier.
Thank you guys for putting this on. This is such a great event, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity. It's events like these that have really made my experience here at SF State really interesting. The classes have been nice too. But yeah, so we're here to present Qualifier, which is a service that helps candidates apply to jobs and jobs that actually want to hire them. So a little bit about kind of introductions. My name is Bilal. This is my co-founder, Eric. We're both computer science students here at SF State. We met a few semesters ago and have just enjoyed getting to know each other and collaborating on different projects. So a little bit about the genesis, kind of the idea. I'm a little bit older, so I have some experience in the tech world. But coming here has been kind of in talking to other students and younger students, and specifically CS majors who are like graduating really soon. There's a level of anxiety in the air. There's a level of uncertainty in the air that I'm sensing, and rightfully so. The interest rates are so high. We'll talk a little bit about the problem. Hiring is still suppressed. Layoffs are continuing, and some of these students are getting into debt to get their CS degree. And they're really worried. I remember I had a conversation with one student, and he was saying he wanted a startup, almost like a just for looks startup. So if he didn't find a job within the first 2 years of graduating, he could at least have a regular job and say that he was doing something. So when the market maybe turns around in 2 years, he still looks like a decent candidate. You know, I don't think that's the way to go, but people are scrambling for ideas and they're really worried, you know. And so there's one side of the problem, which is on the applicant side, but there's also, if anyone's been on LinkedIn and see a job post that's been up for 4 hours and has 100+ candidates, you know, there's problems for hiring managers and recruiters too. They're getting an influx of applications, and it seems like, you know, anyone who took a YouTube tutorial on how to build a to-do app in Next.js is applying to, you know, 100 jobs a month as well. And so it's getting really competitive. It's hard for them. There just seems to be a disconnect here between these two kind of parties that are hoping, ideally, to actually mutually find an interest and work together. And so this is one manifestation of this problem, this term ghost jobs. I don't know who's familiar with it, but if anyone has been trying to make a bunch of applications and wonders in their head, you know, I've done 100 and like only 2 have even replied to me. Are these jobs even real? You know, and there was a study from Clarify Capital where they surveyed about 1,000 different hiring managers and kind of asked them about this phenomenon, and asked them why they think this is happening. And so they have a couple of different ideas and conclusions. You know, one of them cited, or several of them cited, this idea that, you know, when times get tough and layoffs come in and like you lay off half your workforce and they have twice as much work to do now, they're really worried and they're like, hey, we need replacements. And like, well, we're trying something. We put up a job listing and just let them cool off for a little bit, you know, give them a little bit of idea that there's relief coming, you know, and that could be a route just to keep them cool. You can also put up a ghost job just to put out to the world that, hey, we're hiring and we're a real company and we're growing, you know, even if that's not necessarily your intention. Or there's jobs that have just been filled already and, you know, the job listing is still up. And people are applying. And like, if you're a student and you've only got X amount of resources and X amount of time, do you really want to be wasting time applying to jobs that are already filled? You know, and there's other jobs that are there that represent just honeypots for new resumes for recruiters that maybe 2 years from now, when they're, you know, hiring again, they have that. So to go a little bit further, you want to mention something there?
So this is our story. So here's Michael. He is a fresh computer science graduate facing the rough prospects of finding a job after school. He's committed to applying to as many jobs as he can, so he slogs through those ghost jobs, which Gogo just talked about, fake employers, and data phishing scams. Applying to over 200 jobs a month, he feels helpless without guidance. So Michael's mentor recommends Qualifier. He uses Qualifier's Q-score to locate real jobs that fit his experience and skill level. Focusing on the high Q-score listings, Michael streamlines his application process by applying to them on the Qualified app, saving time and increasing his success rate. This gives Michael more time for interview prep and giving him a feeling of control and confidence. So, how does this actually work? For the first functionality of Q-score, it's based on the qualifier will give you a qualification score based on a listing's legitimacy and detail based on our advanced AI that's trained on other platforms and experiences from other qualified users. The second functionality and customization, you can search for your preferences on the Qualified app and find listings that are fit for you. That's whether that's on LinkedIn or Glassdoor. For the last functionality, control and peace of mind, Qualifier can de-stress the application season by automatically submitting your resume and letters, which in turn should facilitate massive applying.
So yeah, we want to cover at least a little bit of the business model as we see it now. And again, we reserve the right to continue to develop this, but right now we're anticipating maybe starting off with a freemium service. Again, I think because our focus and we're most connected to the applicant side at the moment, that to engage them, offer them the free service to get a Q-score. Let's say they're going through job listings on LinkedIn. They want to see if this job that they're interested in has a high Q-score. They get that, and that's for free. And that allows us to have a user base. That allows us to get some traction and develop insights. And so when we become more developed, we hope to offer more services to employers. We have more data. We have more insights to offer to the market. So that's another route that we're looking to monetize with. But I think the basis of it, especially at this level, is to develop more on the applicant side of things, and hopefully from there go further. And that's all the time we got. And I guess we'll have more questions.
You should team up with the first team.
I think, I mean, like, I really appreciate their presentation because it validated a little bit that there is a problem that other people are sensing, and it's not just me. And so I do think we're approaching the same idea, the same problem at least.
Can you go back 2 slides? Yeah. Can you talk more about this Q's for?
Oh, sorry, the Q score. Okay, so
Yeah, right now, if you don't mind, like, the idea is that it's not fully fleshed out what all the elements are, but the idea is if we look at a number of different approaches, like for example, like, hey, this job been posted before, that affects the Q score. Look at the company posting it, look at if there's a recruiter that's posting it. We look at as many factors as we can to develop a score, and I think what the algorithm will be constantly evolving.
So that's from the employer perspective,
Yes.
but not the candidate's perspective.
Yes.
Then how do you match then candidates to Q score?
Yeah, at some point, I don't think the Q score, at least as we see it right now, will be something necessarily that will be part of the employer side. We're envisioning it mostly for the applicant side, to be scoring the job listings.
Is the Q score individual to an applicant, or is it just unique to an employer?
No, it's going to be a confluence of both the job listing and what we know and what the applicant gives us about their information, their level of skill, their interests. For example, if they're going to get a higher Q score, let's say for a job listing that has, let's say they do a lot of Python and machine learning. So who maybe doesn't do as much of that, will have a different Q score. If I assess that job, I'll get a different Q score. You know.
It's kind of like a matchmaking, and it's kind of like a match factor. How well do this employee-employer match?
Yeah, so there's a number of things. Just it's how they match. Also, you know, if that job is higher quality, lower quality. If like that, like for example, you could be dinged. The job could be dinged just on the basis of, let's say, it's marketed as a junior developer position, and yet it asks for like 6 years of Kubernetes or something. You know. So like that's another factor. So the Q score is going to be a confluence of different things. That's what we're imagining.
I mean, most seniors that graduate here from SF State will probably have done all exactly the same projects in the same classes, same projects. I mean, could you also use the Q score to give hints, like career planning, or like in terms of selecting electives? Could it also be used not just for matching, but also maybe to help a junior decide on the kind of electives they should take as seniors?
We haven't considered that, but that does seem like something that would fit in with kind of where we're, at least at this moment, kind of our target audience.
So you talked about a situation where you have both jobs, right? How does this deal with that situation?
Right now, one of the things is like a low-hanging fruit is simply by just going back, archiving. So if you submit a job, right, that's just fresh from LinkedIn, analyzing that, seeing who posted it, seeing what the job title is, and then comparing it to our archive of other jobs. So if we can match that job, for example, this is just one simple level of analysis. We can match that job to a job that was posted a year ago by the same person that was posted a year before that. We will at least be able to maybe indicate that this is a ghost job.
Okay, so you're looking for patterns to figure that out, whether this is what the...
Yeah, and I'm sure that we're going to be missing stuff. You know, like there's going to be ghost jobs out there that we're going to miss. But if we get enough of that, the idea is to make the life and the anxiety level of these students or people applying into this job market in general a little bit lower, giving them a sense of control. Of course, we can't guarantee anything. You know?
Okay, so the related question is, what's your data source? Are you scraping LinkedIn, or are you connecting using an API?
At the moment, we're scraping. We anticipate that's going to be problematic at some point, but at the moment, we're scraping.
Some people have become billionaires scraping with the web, so I think you should be fine. this off you.
That might be a problem. We'll get there when we get there.
All right, thank you very much, judges. Okay, so finally, we're on to the last team. Last but not least, Fresh Lens. Would you like to come up? All right, let's go.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So my group's idea is Fresh Cleanse, which aims to reduce food waste and inspire mindful eating through easy-to-use technology. So the problem that we're trying to address is that a lot of food is being thrown away, and that it also causes a lot of environmental degradation. And the amount of waste that it accumulates up to is about $408 billion in annual food waste, and it's also estimated to be about 40% of the U.S. entire food supply, which equates to about 325 pounds of food waste per person annually. And more than 80% of Americans discard perfectly good consumables simply because they also misunderstand expiration labels, such as used by, expired by, or also sell by, which are all kind of confusing because we don't really know which expiration date or expiration label to go by, since not all of them are universal. And there's also a lack of knowledge when it comes to repurposing ingredients. So usually when we go to grocery stores, we would tend to buy ingredients meant for one specific dish. But sometimes when we're left with leftovers, we are not sure what to do with those leftover ingredients. And the solution that Fresh Lens is tackling is that it is trying to reduce the amount of food waste when it comes to those expiration label confusion, and also to address the food waste spoilage from not knowing what to do with those repurposed food. So what Fresh Lens will do is that it will tackle the issues of food waste by combining AI and object detection technology by allowing users to digitally log their groceries through pictures. Because one of the issues that we've come across with the current applications on the market today is that a lot of the food tracking are done through QR code, but there are some foods that don't have QR codes, such as fruits, like bananas. And something else that Fresh Lens would offer too is a calendar, which would be very important compared to the ones on the market, because it could be used to forecast food expiration, which is important during times like spring break. So the purpose to that is to ensure that users are able to know ahead of time when these ingredients are going to expire, rather than coming back from their trip and realizing that all of the ingredients have expired already. So a specific use case is that since spring break is like next week, people before leaving could repurpose their food for specific dishes, or to at least throw away those ingredients. And addition to what I mentioned, something that Fresh Lens would also do is to have food recommendations, which are going to be based off of or powered off of AI. And the reason why it's essential is that not all ingredients would be readily available. So if you're trying to repurpose specific ingredients, and with how the platform works of adding your current ingredients stored in your refrigerator, it would give you a food choice of whatever your ingredients is closest to encourage a sustainable lifestyle and to minimize waste. So the market opportunity we estimate is about 2 billion households worldwide, which with 40% showing concerns of food waste due to sustainability interests. And our focus is on the United States, Canada, and Australia, which is where smartphones are used very, very frequently. And our service available market in these countries is about 120 million. And our market share is to address 1% of that, primarily in the urban areas where app usage is higher and that sustainability is a bigger concern in those areas. Our business model for Fresh Lens is it operates on a freemium model with basic features such as being able to add the ingredients and the food expiration tracker. And then with the premium version, you're able to get recipe recommendations and also notifications that you can scale based off of the user's preference. And that's it. So, there's a picture with our team because I can't forget about everybody who worked hard on the idea. But the people behind the team is Katie Song, who's a computer science major, Jin Wan Choi, who's a business major, and myself, Wang Tu, computer science major.
Very important.
Judges, take it away.
On the technical side, do you expect people to have a smartphone?
Yes.
Prerequisite?
Yes.
I know there are some fridges now that have like built-in cameras.
Kind of like
would
this
need to work with,
smart fridge.
That is what I see as the hurdle, the overhead of scanning everything in. I wonder if there might be other ways of doing this.
The purpose why we prefer, or our app is based off of the mobile versus like the refrigerators, because when it comes to like notifications, I think most people would rather get notifications through their phones, especially when it comes to food expiration. And when you're able to access those information, especially when it comes to like also grocery shopping too, you'll also know which ingredients you have. And I guess you wouldn't have to necessarily buy unnecessary ingredients.
Notification is one thing, but I'm more concerned about the scanning part.
The scanning portion? Can you like elaborate what?
Well, I come back home from shopping, 2 shopping bags full of stuff. I want to get stuff quickly to the freezer, to the fridge, those perishable. And then if I have to scan everything before I put it into the fridge and freezer, do you have any ideas on how to make that
to make it
easier?
At the moment, I don't, because that was something that I didn't really think about. Idea. I'll consider that.
How about scanning the receipt? You can already deduce quite a bit from the receipt. You see bananas on the receipt, and you can just, like I said, the weekend should be used.
Yeah, I think that's a very good recommendation. that's something that we just didn't think about, but I think we would take that into consideration.
Yeah, so thanks for the presentation. It's interesting. Back in 1996, when I was a graduate student, Georgia Tech had a project of this nature. There was no Wi-Fi, there were no smartphones back then. So what they did was they had the egg rack in the fridge with a little tiny analog switch. When you put the egg, it connects the switch, and then something somewhere says, "Oh, we have an egg in the fridge." Right? So the concept is similar, but we got to this point. And to his question, I guess you could have some kind of a camera in the fridge where when you're putting things, it scans or some such thing. But the workflow, I think the workflow issue is important, which is I get groceries home, I'm putting them in the fridge, where do we scan the fridge? The second was in terms of so what do I have in the fridge and what can I make with it? Where is that concept coming from? So for instance, I have eggs and I have butter. How does your system put together that I could make an omelet?
So when the ingredients are added to our platform, based off of the ingredients, it's stored onto a database, and with that information, we're able to use AI to give various recommendations for those recommended dishes.
Right. So my question is how are you creating the? Are you sitting there and saying that eggs and butter can be an omelet, or are you creating it on some other database where there are recipes that can tell you?
So we plan to just use a OpenAI API to get those recommendations as of right now.
Okay, so you're relying on a third party in that case.
Yes.
In terms of, all right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fresh Lens. I'd like to thank the judges for your wonderful questions, as well as all the 5 teams who have participated today. You guys did a wonderful job. Let's give them a round of applause. Right now, we will be transitioning to allowing the judges to talk amongst themselves about the pitches. During the meantime, you guys are free to mingle with each other, talk about anything you feel. There are drinks and food in the back, courtesy of Dr. Yang. And I believe we'll be back in around 10 minutes. Thank you very much, everybody, and good job.
So I just want to congratulate all the teams for making the step to make these pitches and go above and beyond. Competition was pretty tough this year. I'm really happy to see all the stuff you guys put out. I'm very proud that you guys managed to do this on a really short time frame. So of course we do have our 3 winners, and again, all of you guys put in really hard work. You guys all did a wonderful, but there's only 1 first place, there's only 1 second place, and there's only 1 third place. So honestly, we should start with third.
We should start with
yes.
All right.
All right.
Okay, for third place we have Echo AI.
Echo AI?
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah!
You want to stand for a picture?
Yeah, stand for a picture. Follow you on.
You guys can all get together.
Look
I
at
should-
you.
yeah.
Okay, for
Stand for the picture.
picture.
Y'all
Not
together.
bad.
And step forward a little bit. So.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So from here, if we announce second, it would be kind of obvious, who would be first place. So I think it would make more sense to announce first place.
No.
Second place. Second place. All right. So.
We were kidding about the first place thing. That was just a joke. Didn't happen.
Just jokes.
Just a joke. For second place, we have Team Fresh Lens. Congratulations. There is inside there. Hopefully not backwards.
All right.
Yay!
Step forward and try to keep together as best you can.
Come forward. Maybe come forward. And squeeze in. Squeeze in. Squeeze in. Yeah. There you go.
All right. All right. The place that everyone's waiting for. Again, I'm super excited to announce this team. They all worked very hard. All the teams did. So, without further ado, first place will go to Align AI.
It's not backward.
Come forward a little bit. Everybody likes to stand up against the wall. Alright. Yay! Nice.
And also, all the teams for presenting their pitch. I know it was very nerve-wracking for everyone to be up here and be like, all right, I gotta lay it out, I gotta speak on it. It was very, very interesting seeing everyone's pitches and how everyone was planning on pursuing their idea. And I really hope that, you know, kind of regardless of your placement, that you guys would continue, especially with your pitch for the innovation pitch competition.
Pitch competition applications will be due March 31st. So the actual event will be on April 12th, and that's the bigger competition. That's the main one for SFSU. Bigger prizes, bigger competition. You know, everything's bigger, so go for it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Judges, especially, I want to thank for taking time out of your day. I want to thank Dr. Silbo Yan for co-hosting this.
And the donuts.
Thank you.
And just the other organizers that many of you may not have seen. Of course, you guys see us. But there's more. Dawson, Keith. There's so much help that we had. We definitely help.
Hi.
And then Shreya, of course. Thank you so much. And that is it for this year's CS Pitch Competition. We hope you guys enjoyed and taking this step forward on learning things that you guys don't learn in your curriculum. So we really appreciate it. You guys did fantastic, and we hope we see you again for next year. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful spring break.
Oh.
Wonderful.